my name is Charlie Davies. I'm 29 years old and the business is called iGeolise. So what iGeolise has essentially done is invent a way that we can search maps by time instead of distance. Because at the moment, most location-based searches, when they happen online, when someone's trying to find something, or it's trying to find you, is always done by distance. So what can I do within 1 mile, 5 miles, or 10 miles? And the big problem with that is that people don't tend to travel in a straight line. They're at the mercy of the transport networks around them. So if you're searching for a property or a job or something to do at the weekend, the best listing you can get today is by miles. But when a user comes to understand that, it becomes very, very hard, especially if you don't know the area at all. So what our technology allows property websites to do, recruitment websites to do, tourism websites to do, is essentially search their data by time, which has tripled the conversion rates on some of our clients such as Zoopla and Countrywide. So biggest clients to date are Zoopla, big property portal, Countrywide, job site, Visit Britain, and I think in terms of big sort of brand names, that would be the ones. We've also worked previously with The Guardian, TalkTalk, and a few other ones that are soon to come out. So it was almost by complete mistake, actually. So I graduated from Cardiff in politics and philosophy in 2008-9 and went to go and work for a web development company very, very briefly and started working on early ideas about how we could better improve location-based search online. We just thought that the way locations being served online weren't being served the most relevantly, either for the business that's trying to make the money or for the consumer who's actually trying to find something. So it was out of a pain, this necessity of me actually trying to find something and then going away and trying to figure out how we could create the technology. And then almost because of that, we then had a business. I didn't really wake up one day and say, I really want to be a businessman, or I really want to be whatever terminology goes with it. I just found a problem that really motivated me and went about fixing it. But then I found out that if you really want to, build something big, you need to get people, and that requires money. So then you need an income. So then you have to build a business around that to make sure that you can have your idea come to life, essentially. I have a co-founder, a gentleman called Peter Lilly. We co-founded the business 50-50 about 4.5 years ago. We've got some other investors on board, mainly angel investors. We've received some government funding as well, so that's how we finance some of the early stage prototyping. But yeah, there's two of us in the business. It's just an impossible scenario to get yourself into, really. I sometimes think I almost did it the wrong way round. I didn't go into industry at all, so I've pretty much always made my own money, either doing odd jobs or when I was younger fixing computers. I'd never really had any contacts. So when I started on day one, my LinkedIn was almost zero. So most people starting businesses have a bit of heritage behind them that enables them to springboard into what they do. So that was a big problem. Didn't really know anyone, so we had to go out and meet all these people. That's where sort of Surrey and where we met in the incubator there. But we had a small amount of technical ability that came from myself. We had some sales ability, but we had to build an incredibly complicated product, a brand new product from scratch, with almost zero financing. So that required us to become quite inventive about how we could get early stage revenues, how we were going to find the right developers, how we were going to pay them. And then because we're a B2B, we then have a very long sales pipeline. So it's not as if we can start a consultancy business tomorrow and go out and begin to sell our services. We had a very long wait in which we could actually start selling our first product. So the problems are infinite and get created more and more and more every day. But they're good fun and they're quite challenging, and that sort of motivates me. SETsquared is an incubator that is run jointly with several universities across the UK, and it's there to essentially help technology companies primarily to kickstart their business. So there's lots of things that you don't really think about for businesses, but they need somewhere to sit. They need an internet access. They need meeting rooms. They sometimes need the bravado of looking much bigger than they actually are, especially when it comes down to sort of first sales and trying to establish yourself as a name. And what a lot of incubators like that do, and SETsquared do it particularly well, is provide you with everything that you need to do and use apart from the things that make your business unique. So lots of businesses have lots of overlaps. You need access to accountants, lawyers, potential PR, training, recruitment, but then you get to work on the things that actually make your business unique, which can accelerate you through because you're not having to worry about all the other things. And also there was heavily subsidised for the early stage of office space. I spent an awfully long time living in my parents' loft in a room not much bigger than this and working and sleeping within sort of 3 feet of each other. It was nice to go out and actually have an office space that I could go and call myself a working person. So that was really quite early on. We started, I think even then, iGeolise was going to be a consumer-facing proposition. So we wanted to gather users, become a brand name, and people would come and search for local content on our sites. We quickly realised that to develop the technology that we wanted to do, as well as launch a brand name into the consumer market, was going to require millions of pounds. And at sort of this, I think almost at the stage I met you, I was sort of sofa surfing and living out of my car. So I certainly didn't have £1 million to go and spend on any advertising campaigns. So we quickly started to think about how we actually could generate income. I'm motivated by money. I think everyone is primarily for lots of what they want to do, but mainly more motivated by actually building something. And I got quite frustrated in the fact that trying to build a consumer-facing site, you could spend an awful lot of time and effort to not that much controlled response because it might not have the right market grab that you want. So B2B allowed us to have a little bit more control, and it also meant that we could then go much sooner to our first revenue moment, the first moment that you ever convince someone to sign on the dotted line and then give you a check back or a cash or bank transfer. And we started to do that with our early prototypes of things that only worked. Our algorithms, when we first developed them, took 3 to 5 minutes to do what we can now do in 300 milliseconds. So we went out and switched our play into this B2B. And we managed to convince our first investor to part with £100,000. And we raised that money from a piece of paper, not too dissimilar to the one in front of you now, and convinced him, and a lot of belief in us, that we could go and deliver what we were talking about. From then, there have been good days and dark days, and there have been days when you look at the bank account and it's negative or it's very, very close to zero and you've got bills that you need to pay at the end of the month. We, as I said before, have developed this technology from the ground up, so it's completely unique. There is no other technology at the moment that can do what ours does. So our sort of route to market was quite expensive because we had to outlay lots of money before we could get any in. We did some work for that B2B, so modelling office relocations. Where should TalkTalk put their new office? Where should the Guardian Media Group distribute their newspapers to? So those early stage sort of B2B plays then enabled us to pump more cash into making the system faster. And there are deals that are sort of coming to fruition now that I started talking to 3 years ago. So it's sort of now that we're seeing quite large growth quite quickly because of all the early legwork that we put in. Sort of blind optimism is a pretty good skill or character trait to have. I think I've always been quite a personable individual, which has helped me do certain things that I might not have been able to do otherwise. I'm not a very good developer. I'm a very scrappy prototyper. I'm not a very good accountant, but I understand accounts. I hate contracts, but I have to read them. There are lots of skills that I've picked up that enable me to hire the right people now that we need in our business. I actually spoke to someone the other day, and I just consider my job is to sort of make my job completely obsolete, because there are so many better people than me to go and do all these things. And there's a great line in a book called Rework that essentially says, if you're going to hire someone, do their job first. So every single person we've hired in our team are trying to do some of their job already. So sort of a master of, like, jack of all trades and master of none per se. But mainly the whole sort of never giving up, especially on the sales side, and never taking a knockback personally, is very, very, very important. We've got an office now on City Road. We were over in Mornington Crescent, actually, we like North London. And we also have a development office over in Kaunas, Lithuania. So we have a few offices. We still maintain a presence in Guildford as well. It's quite funny, I feel financially, personally stable, which is very different. And it's a thing that I haven't really accepted yet. So when I left university, had debts, obviously, I had to take my girlfriend out on our first. I had to take a Wonga loan out to take her on our first date. I tried to get jobs at bars. I mean, money was a really, really big issue, which is why I was sofa surfing, living out of my car. It was pretty hard. The financial reward is good. Not anywhere near to retirement or anything like that, but it definitely enables you then to remove all of the worry about everything, and just not have the desperation per se that each deal is going to have to mean that you're going to not make rent. So we've proven quite heavily in the UK that our technology has a big benefit for our clients and essentially generates them more business as a result. And that's really the stage we wanted to get to, because you have a nice product and it looks good, but if it doesn't really do what the client, essentially doesn't make or save the money, then your product is really dead in the water, because it's just not people aren't really going to spend any money on it that's going to reflect anything you can build a business upon. So we've established that in the UK, and we're rolling that out much more heavily, but now it's about internationalization. So we're already live in East and West Coast America, France, Spain, the Netherlands, Switzerland and Australia, and now we're attempting to get clients in those areas so we can go and convey the story that we built in the UK, but then take advantage of all the other markets that are very similar: property markets, recruitment markets, tourism markets. The problem exists everywhere. Everywhere when you try and search for something online, if it tells you it's 10 miles away, or it's 5 miles away, or 2.5 miles away, you never pick up the phone when you're late and go, I'm 2.5 miles away. You say you're 10, 15 minutes away. So we're trying to make all of those location-based searches human, so that when someone interacts with them, they know exactly everything on the screen is real and relevant to them. And for a business, that essentially means that they can remove location from the question. So if you're a property company or recruitment company, and I give you 10 results, you're having to make lots of work around whether you would like to live there, or if you get to that job. We remove all of that guesswork away. So what we're also trying to do, apart from just sell more product, because that's what helps our business, our investors like it, I like it, my staff like it, is also change the way in which we search for stuff online. And that's the thing that we've always wanted to do, and make it much more relevant, much more appealing, and much more profitable for businesses. We do have different ideas as well, but they all focus around how to make location more relevant. This idea that if you take a map that was, I'll talk to you forever about maps, but maps that were just paper maps. Essentially all that's happened is that those maps have been lifted online, and then content's been placed on top of those maps. And they are relevant because you know what a map looks like, and everyone has a sort of cultural understanding of what a map does. But how many people a day do you see spinning around on a pavement trying to orientate themselves? We spoke earlier on about actually how to get to the office today. We're trying to work on new ways of actually removing location from a question and just driving people to the thing that they actually want. The challenge here is always, you grow from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, and there are certain you can't. I'd love to be able to sort of clone myself in some respects and know that you have to relinquish control. And the best way to sort of relinquish control is to give someone that control and then make them make as many mistakes as they can incredibly quickly, because you can't really breathe down someone's neck on a regular basis. It makes them very paranoid. They won't make the decisions you need them to make autonomously on their own. So a lot of what we've done in the past year is just that, sort of offlaying a lot of the responsibility from myself and then enabling me potentially myself to go away and travel through these places. And we've already spent some time in Australia and the States, but to go and do this, and that would be my role, obviously to manage everything back at home as well, but to get a few more people who would be able to do all the things that I'm doing at the moment in the UK comfortably, safely, as worry-free as possible. I don't think you get to complete worry-free. There are certain things that have happened that are pure luck. You meet someone at an event who introduces you to the right person. There are things that take perseverance and time, and I think it's just, I don't think there's anything necessarily different about myself I don't see myself as a big different person. It's just that we came across an idea that worked, and we generated a business out of that. One of the best things to do with people is just understand their incentives. If you understand someone's incentives, you can really sort of work together, whether you're working closely with someone or you're trying to sell to someone. And Peter, may or may not do something after iGeolise. He has a financial heritage, as in personally, not family money historically, but has a house, is established. Very, very different. I would like to do lots more things, but the common thing there is we would essentially at some time like a liquidity moment. So we would like to have more than the wage each month as a monetary reward. Now how that happens, I have no idea. There are obviously loads of different ways it could happen. We have no control over those. So with Peter and I, it's just about working as we do every day, trying to get as many sales in and grow the business to however large we can. And then what we do afterwards, I mean, who knows? I'd like to go and sit on a beach for a very long time. Just do it. I think there's a lot of time to just think and either wind yourself up, drive yourself into a hole, or try and come up with an idea. I think the more you do and actually do, the more you learn. I think I was talking to the grammar school in Guildford the other day about this, and someone said, which books do you recommend? And it's very interesting. If you go into Waterstones, lots of sort of books from, let's say, Lord Sugar about how, and then they sort of published as like how-to guides. If you follow A to Z, you'll get what you want. And it's not, life isn't like that at all. You have to find out what you are good at and what you're really bad at, because no one's really good at anything, but usually someone's at least good at one thing. And then sort of understanding around how that affects other people and what the sort of chain reaction effect is. And you cannot do that in isolation. You could be an incredible scientist, you could be the best programmer in the world, but unless you can find other people to work with, you can't build anything. It's impossible. So what you need to do is just get out there and get nervous, get scared, get really fearful. I mean, when we first started doing public speaking events or doing sales events, I'd just be freaking out. I never, for example, I used to think I used to have to wear a suit to everything. So I used to think I had to be somebody else to do the things I wanted to do, because business is all about wearing suits and stuff. I don't think I've worn a suit for the past 3.5 years because I was trying to be someone who I wasn't. But I needed to sort of go out and find how I could work with other people, and that just meant being myself, essentially. I think I network quite well with our clients, really. Yeah. We have incredibly good relationships with all of our clients. Sort of pick up the phone, or they'll refer other clients, or it's very, very nice. We're sort of we hold great responsibility around how we handle our clients. At some point, if we keep on doing what we're doing and it goes well, we will have competition. And at that point, there has to be other things that separate you. If there's a product that does exactly the same thing. So working with those clients, I have a fantastic time because we work in so many different industries. So I don't just work in recruitment or property, but in lots of, trying to figure out where to put an office location, for example. And all of those sort of networks in different industries have really exposed me to lots of different things and new ideas. So I can be sitting down with the ad agency, a design agency one day about a new application, and the next day I can be trying to map out the Parisian metro for 2016 that we did for a client the other day. I have my ultimate sounding board, which has always been my dad. He's the biggest sounding board, I think, for all of his children. No, I don't have a listed or someone that I have as a mentor. I'm very open in the fact that if I don't understand something or if we screw up, because businesses make mistakes, we have a very sort of honest policy. So if we're in a meeting, we don't understand something, just say, do you know what, I don't know. The mentorship around that has just come from, I think I just tried, probably lots of people I've met over the past sort of 4 or 5 years, but there's been no specific individual apart from my dad. I really don't hold myself in any high regard like that. It's very flattering of you to say so, but I really don't. I think there's, far greater sort of talent and motivation and more productive individuals than myself. I don't think I will get bored. I think I've said this a few times, but people are such a big driver for me. I think if I was, working on in pure isolation, I think I would sort of burn out. But sort of the more people I get to go and meet, I find that enough. So I don't think I'll be working in maps and location forever, but I'll be working with something that people use or people are involved with.